Ever wonder how airplane meals went from bland to grand? From soggy pasta nightmares to gourmet delights, join us as we unravel the secrets behind the evolution of in-flight dining. But before we delve into the culinary adventure at 30,000 feet, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Let's dive in. Once upon a time, the food you got on airplanes wasn't very good. Think about pasta that's all mushy, eggs that are like rubber, and chicken that's all dry. Not tasty at all. If you were flying economy class, you had to put up with this bad food. And sometimes US Airlines didn't even give you a free meal. But hold on to your seats, because things have taken a delicious turn. In 2019, US Airlines celebrated their 10th consecutive year of making profits, and guess what? Passengers are now treated to a whole new level of dining experience, especially in premium cabins. Delta, American, United, you name it, these airlines are teaming up with celebrity chefs to create mouth-watering menus for their lucky passengers up front. And let's not forget about the growing crowd of picky eaters, vegans, high-protein seekers, low-carb enthusiasts, gluten-free folks. Airlines are listening and adapting their menus accordingly. With nearly 2.8 million people jetting in and out of US airports daily, airlines are facing a tasty challenge: how to feed all those hungry travelers efficiently and without breaking the bank. A flashback to the 1920s when airlines first took flight. Back then, planes were noisy, flying low, and battling strong winds. To keep passengers happy, airlines offered food. Some even had deals with local restaurants to supply meals or made pit stops at airports with eateries mid-flight. Imagine landing in the middle of your journey just to grab a bite. Fast forward to the 1930s, and airline meals were stepping up their game. United Airlines led the charge by enlisting the help of flight attendants, who also happened to be registered nurses. These multitasking stewards not only handed out snacks but also tended to airsick passengers. In 1936, United went a step further and opened its first flight kitchen in California. Picture this: hot meals like fried chicken and scrambled eggs served at 30,000 feet. However, the service was a bit slow because flight attendants were more focused on nursing than serving food. In 1933, the Boeing 247 soared onto the scene, hailed as the first modern passenger plane. With room for 10 travelers and a cruising speed of 155 mph, it was a marvel of its time. And get this, everyone on board flew first class. But let's face it, those passengers were mainly wealthy, male business execs. Fast forward to World War II, and technical advancements led to bigger planes flying longer distances. By the late 1940s, propeller planes were ferrying 50 to 60 people per trip. But here's the kicker: no movies, no music. So what kept passengers occupied during those long-haul flights? You guessed it, food and drink. For some, the 1950s and 60s were the golden age of air travel. Picture this: champagne-flowing, lobster thermidor on the menu, and meals served on fine china with crisp white tablecloths. But as jet engines took flight in the late 1950s, so did the era of economy class. Cue the class divide and plastic cutlery making its debut. In the early 60s, airlines handled catering in-house or relied on local airport eateries. But with more passengers, they struggled to keep up. So by the late 60s and early 70s, many carriers turned to third-party catering companies to keep the food coming. Now, enter the Boeing 747 in 1970, a game-changer capable of carrying up to 500 passengers. Talk about feeding a crowd. But as the 1970s rolled in, so did rising fuel costs and airline deregulation. Carriers scrambled to slash expenses, leading to budget airlines offering rock-bottom fares and extra charges for snacks. The cost-cutting trend continued into the 1980s, epitomized by American Airlines CEO Robert Crandall's infamous decision to remove an olive from every first-class salad, saving a cool $40,000 in 1987. And so the era of luxury air travel gave way to mass transit in the sky. It's all about the details. Ever wondered if those 3 cherry tomatoes in your salad really make a difference? Well, when you're serving 400 passengers in a giant metal tube, every bit counts. Even those extra tomatoes might matter to the accountants. In the early 2000s, airlines faced a turbulent time with falling profits after the 9/11 attacks and the SARS epidemic. US carriers took a massive hit, losing a whopping $60 billion to 2001 to 2005. To tighten their belts, many airlines nixed meal service altogether. It seemed airline meals were out of fashion. But by 2019, the tables turned. US Airlines celebrated a decade of profitability. And guess what? To win over economy class travelers, many airlines brought back free meals. Yet the challenge remains: how to serve up piping hot meals to thousands of passengers at once. The answer: it's a massive operation. Take Emirates flight catering at Dubai Airport, for example. They whip up an average of 225,000 meals a day for over 500 flights. And it's no small team. They've got over 11,000 culinary experts, including 1,800 chefs, working around the clock, 365 days a year. Darren Bott, Emirates Airlines VP of Catering, spills the beans. They dish out over $1 billion worth of food and drink globally each year, with more than 7,000 menus in rotation. From concept to plate, it's a year-long process. But here's the kicker: Dubai's in the desert, so almost everything's imported. From European veggies to American berries, Aussie beef, South American poultry, you name it, they've got it covered. Meal prep kicks off 48 hours before takeoff. And get this, they've got separate kitchens for Japanese, Indian, and Middle Eastern cuisine, along with a bakery, butchery, and veggie prep area. In 2018 alone, Emirates Flight Catering served up a staggering 110 million meals. Think 1,400 tons of potatoes, 72 million bread rolls, 61 tons of strawberries, and a whopping 188 tons of salmon. Talk about feeding an army. Picture this: every ingredient for your airplane meal has traveled from distant lands, creating a complex web of logistics and supply chain challenges. Once these ingredients are transformed into delicious dishes, they're plated, loaded onto carts, and chilled before being whisked onto the plane. Talk about a culinary relay race. With a fully loaded A380 capable of carrying up to 60 airline meal carts, the sheer scale of the operation is mind-boggling. In the US alone, airline catering is a mammoth $6 billion industry. While some airlines like United handle catering in-house, most rely on big players like LSG Sky Chefs, Gate Gourmet, and Flying Food Group. In 2019, these giants raked in massive revenues, with LSG Sky Chefs leading the pack at $1.6 billion, followed by Gate Gourmet at $714 million, and Flying Food Group at $490 million. And let's not forget the bottom line: with estimated net incomes in the tens of millions, these companies are soaring in profitability. But serving up hot meals at 30,000 feet isn't a piece of cake. Safety regulations mean no open flames on planes, so everything has to be reheated. And here's a taste bud twist: your palate's dulled at high altitudes, making food taste blander than it really is. Now, let's peek behind the curtain at United Airlines, where menu design is serious business. With over 50 million meals served annually, menu innovation is key. Jerry Gully, one of United's top chefs, heads a team of over 2,500 catering experts. Together, they collaborate with chefs from Gate Gourmet and LSG Sky Chefs to perfect every dish. Days of testing and tweaking recipes ensure that every meal meets United's high standards. It's not just about fancy ideas, it's about consistency, ensuring that every bite is as delightful in the air as it is on the ground. After all, when you're flying the friendly skies, a satisfying meal can make all the difference. When it comes to crafting the perfect in-flight meal, airlines aren't just winging it. They rely on a blend of customer feedback, input from flight attendants, and data analytics to ensure every bite hits the mark. After all, a bad meal can go viral faster than you can say Instagram, and airlines definitely don't want that kind of PR turbulence. Take Singapore Airlines, for example. They churn out a whopping 40 million meals a year, keeping things fresh by changing their menu weekly on regional flights and monthly on international routes. But even with careful planning, logistical hurdles still arise. It can take up to 7 weeks to get certain produce into the kitchen, which poses a challenge for maintaining freshness. Innovations like Singapore Airlines' Farm to Plane initiative aim to tackle these challenges head-on. For their marathon 19-hour flight from Newark to Singapore, they source leafy greens and veggies from Aero Farms, an indoor vertical farm in New Jersey. Aero Farms' high-tech approach to farming allows for rapid crop cycles and maximum productivity, ensuring that the produce reaches the plane just in time for takeoff. Yet behind the scenes, there's a different story unfolding. While airlines rake in billions, many of the workers who prepare those first-class meals struggle to make ends meet. Labor unions like Unite here are fighting for better wages and affordable healthcare for airline catering workers across the U.S. Thousands have taken to the streets in protest, highlighting the disparity between airline profits and worker compensation. But it's not just labor issues that airlines are grappling with. With more passengers taking to the skies, cabin waste has become a pressing concern. In 2017 alone, the industry generated nearly 6 million tons of cabin waste, costing airlines close to $1 billion. A staggering 20% of that waste untouched food and drinks. Despite these challenges, the in-flight catering industry is poised for growth. Experts predict that by 2026, the global airline catering business could soar to over $9.5 billion. And with the number of travelers expected to double by 2037, the future of in-flight dining looks brighter than ever. So buckle up, because the sky's the limit when it comes to culinary innovation at 30,000 feet. And thanks for joining us on this tasty journey through the skies. From kitchen innovations to labor challenges, we've explored it all. Before you go, don't forget to hit like, share this video, and subscribe for more fascinating content. Until next time, bon appetit and happy flying.